he is the steady person. He's the one who's like been championing this technology of biological hydrolysis and Monsal for quite a while.
Yeah.
So Nick, you're on.
Great, thanks. Yeah, as Bill mentioned, I for the short-term work for GE, we are in the process of being divested. So all of GE Water is being pulled away, and we're going to be acquired by Suez. Hasn't happened yet. I thought it did, so I conveniently put the Mid-Atlantic Biosolids Association logo over all of the nomenclature on my presentation. So I'm just Nick in the water business for the week. Yeah. So today, Bill gave me the opportunity to give you a little bit of a discussion about an installation that we just put in. In the brochure, it says Boise. That's close. It's in the state of Idaho, but we're actually 200 miles east in another town called Rexburg. So it's good we're here because the local people probably don't know what's going on in Boise. It's, get questions ahead of time. So today we're going to talk about this facility. It's pretty simple. We went through over the last 3 years. We're working with the city of Rexburg. It's a small facility. It's rated for 9 MGD. Currently runs at 5. It's a college town out there, so they have pretty low flows in the summers as well. So they got a lot of extra capacity. They were actually looking at converting over their basically conventional system with some aerobic basins over to an anaerobic digestion system. So this is basically a retrofit of a small existing facility. With the conversion, we are going to be. I guess the problem statement here was that they were having a lot of issues with odor. It's kind of actually it's a wealthy Mormon community, so everybody with an opinion, everybody knows each other, so it's very vocal in the sense that people were unhappy with land application. They were having to move further and further away from the city. Also, they're right on the edge of the mountains, so they can't spread their sludge for 6 months out of the year, so they were having storage issues. So a lot of problems they were trying to fix. Simply, ultimately, they didn't want to put in some complicated tech. They didn't want to put in dryers. They didn't want to bring in additional gas to the site. So we proposed the idea of putting in anaerobic digestion. What we were able to do is convert 4 of their square aerobic basins over to anaerobic digesters. And being that they were having odor complaints with land application, we went with the Class A option with our Monsal 70 pasteurization system. So I'll give you the details on how that operates here in a moment, and then we'll show you what else we provided on site. Being that we're the last presentation before break, I have a lot of big words, a lot of pictures, so we'll keep this simple for the masses here. So I guess the core technology around what we're doing is our Monsal 70 process. This is a very simple system. It's basically it's a 3-tank pasteurization system. That what we look to do is it's time and temperature. We're not looking to benefit the digestion process at all. We're simply heating the sludge up above 70 C, about 160 Fahrenheit, for 30 minutes. That's going to give us the time and temperature requirement to meet Class A. So it's just straight pathogen reduction across the board. This process that we use and have integrated here, we actually built through the acquisition we made with the Monsal group over in the UK, which they designed for the food waste industry. So over there, all food waste digestion plants require a pasteurizer. You see this in many shapes, especially a lot of food waste plants, a couple of food waste plants in Canada as well. All over the UK and Europe, they do these 3-tank pasteurizers. So pretty simple technology. The reason we have 3 tanks is, it allows us to basically maintain continuous feed to the digesters while holding the batch through the process. So what we're simply doing here is we are, again, preheating the sludge. As you can see, if you have, do I have a mouse button? All right, hand gestures. Okay. In the lower, you see the undigested sludge, the raw feed coming in the lower right, left-hand corner of the screen. You're bringing that in, basically, especially up in there, especially up in Idaho. I mean, as low as we actually designed the plant to see the feed gets as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit coming in. So very cold feed coming into the plant. We preheat it using the warm pasteurized sludge that's heading to the digesters. And then we bring it into one of the 3 tanks, and then we actually have a boiler on site, which is going to run on biogas, to basically bring the temperature up above 70 C. And then once we have multiple temperature transmitters in that unit. Once we get it up to temperature, we hold it for the period of time, and once it passes, it heads on to the digester. So we actually have 3 heat exchangers in line. What shows down at the bottom here is not a direct sludge to sludge heat exchanger. We actually go sludge to water to sludge, so we actually have a medium in the middle there. But pretty simple is what we were going for. So inside the reactor itself, okay, there's some small words on here, I apologize, but in the sense that with the 3 reactors, we have one filling, one holding temperature, and one feeding the digester at a time. That gives us the constant feed. Also, it gives us some redundancy if in case one tank, if you have a batch that fails, you can still run in a 2-tank process, and it's a little bit of a reduced flow to the digester, but you're not down. So we have some redundancy there in the process itself. I mentioned we have 3 temperature transmitters throughout the tank. We basically bring it in, we recycle it through the tank itself, maintain a temperature above 70 C or over 160 Fahrenheit, and then once it hits it, runs its time. So very simple, very straightforward. And then obviously the goal here is to achieve a Class A product. I don't think I need to go into the details of Class A sludge with the group, but what we've done is we've submitted a testing protocol to the Idaho EPA, and they've approved that. So we're going to take, during our performance testing phase, we're going to do batch samples, grab samples every day out of each, or 1 per day out of each of the 3 tanks to prove that each tank quantifies, and then we're also going to do one after dewatering is where they asked us to do it as well. So we're basically putting our technology up front of the digesters, and then we're going to be testing it throughout with the city. I guess the one reason that we put this upstream of the digesters, some people ask, why don't you guys with the solid stream are achieving it post-digestion, but since we're providing all the heat here, there's no sense heating it up to run mesophilic digestion and then heating it up again. So the idea is that the energy balance is most effective when doing this pretty much with all the advanced digestion technologies upstream of the digesters. All right, a couple pictures for you guys. So there's a picture of the Monsal 70 system up top. You can see the 3 pasteurization tanks up in the back. This system happens to be inside, so normally they're all outdoors, but again, with the weather conditions, this project we built a whole new biosolids building. So now that the pasteurization system is in there, which you can see, we use multi-pass shell and tube heat exchangers, which you can see the ends of right here across the top. We also provided a new boiler and ring main, which is in the middle picture at the bottom there. A pretty standard boiler off the shelf, dual fuel. It's running on natural gas right now. It will switch over to biogas once gas production gets high enough. We also provided, with these tanks, we provided the mixing systems for the digesters themselves. They had 4 concrete square aerobic basins. So we put, with the engineer, they put new covers on those tanks and sealed them up. Eventually, that was one of the big delays. They had issues getting the covers to seal. So as you can see, they put the covers across, these fiberglass covers, and actually the manways were what never sealed up. It took a long time to fix. But we put our sequential gas mixing technology in there, so which is pretty well suited for square tanks or any size tank for that matter. The gas compressors are in the lower right-hand corner, also indoors, so pretty simple installation. One of the main benefits of the installation here, I don't have any operating data for you guys. Unfortunately, when I agreed to do this, we've had 4 months worth of delays on startup. Big one around the gas, holding the covers sealing and leaking gas. So they had a lot of issues with that. We've been seeding the digesters for 2 weeks now. So the first digester will be fully up and running in about 2 weeks, and then they're going to be going through. So I thought we were going to be 3 months into this, but they were, I guess, the longer winter than expected out in the west this year, and then also delayed everything. So unfortunately, I got a lot of shiny pictures. That's why everything's so clean, because we haven't run sludge. Well, everything's been commissioned on clean water, but not really running sludge through it yet, so it still looks nice and shiny. One of the interesting features of what they're doing here is they actually built an indoor sludge holding facility with 6 months storage capacity for their dewatered cake. So the boiler we have is actually well oversized to handle all the biogas and potentially some natural gas as well, where they actually built in heated floors into the system as well. So in the biosolids building, they're going to dewater the cake, store it over the winter months, and have heated flooring to hopefully further dry the system with odor control and whatnot as well. So that's going to help them. They're going to have a Class A product that hopefully is going to be 40 to 50% dry after a few months, and then they're going to be able to land apply that locally starting. This will be fully commissioned by November, so they can store sludge all winter, and then dispose of it in the spring when it starts to thaw out. So pretty straightforward. No operating data. It's all shiny. Suez soon. all that fun stuff.
Next year we'll
No,
invite you.
it's great. It's funny because they're gonna it was pushed back to September 30th, the acquisition, which is the middle of WEFTEC. So the GE is already part of the Suez booth, so who knows what's gonna go on. So it's gonna be standing in the aisle waving at people. So yeah, with that note, I tried to keep it quick. You guys got any questions, let me know. If anybody's still awake, yeah, Mike.
What do you anticipate your solids being out of dewatering? I'm not sure what you showed us, your dewatering. So what do you think you'd be going into storage?
Probably in the 25% range. With the flow they have going to the digesters, we're going to have, if all 4 digesters are running as primaries, they're going to have about 40-day retention time in the digesters. So plenty of digester capacity. So they're going to expect to get probably in the 25% range coming out, and then over a few more months, yeah, dry it a bit further. Anybody else? Gerhard?
Did GE provide financing for the system?
The question was, did GE provide financing? No. As I mentioned, wealthy Mormon community, their pockets are deep. They pretty much wrote a personal check out of the account for the whole project. So from a financing standpoint, the whole project installed was probably, I want to say, $6 million. The GE portion of the scope of what we provided was about another $1 million worth of equipment, including the covers, and then contract or the construction on top of that. So it's about a $6 million project all in. Yeah. Yes. The question was, what was the driver to convert to Class A? Mainly, they had a lot of odor issues, and with land application in the area, it's a lot of farms right surrounding the town. They were being forced to move further and further away, increasing their costs for hauling and whatnot, and they really had no other place to go. So one of the solutions were if you put digestion in, you're going to hopefully decrease the odor. Go to a Class A product, you're going to have a better time, or it's going to be simpler to dispose of the cake on the back end, and potentially open up new avenues to sell it if the chance comes. Yes.
Sort of related to that, you indicated that you were applying to the EPA to have this method approved as a Class A process. I'm assuming for both VAR and PFRP. And will that be replicable for the technology or the process around the country?
So the question is, did we have to apply or talk to the EPA about how this process will meet PFRP? This is already an approved process. As long as you meet the time and temperature requirement, the EPA doesn't require us to do specific testing. There are a handful. I know Veolia has a biopasteur process that they have running, I know, in Alexandria, Virginia. So they've been running it. It's a 3-tank pasteurization system, very similar. That's approved for PFRP. So we're basically saying that process approved, they say it's okay. And ultimately, the Idaho DEP is the one that, or EPA, excuse me, are the regulating body over that. And they said as long as it's been installed, and we showed them operating data from existing facilities in North America, and that was sufficient for us to not have to do that. So yeah, because it's not a new process, it's been accepted. And there's a couple operating in Canada as well. So we're yeah. Any other questions? Coffee and cookies?
Yes, coffee and cookies and potty time.
Thank you. Oh yeah. See where GE used to be? Can anybody tell?